Uh-oh. Am I muted? There we go. There we go. Hey, welcome to another great LTS show. I am your host, Bodkins, of course, steering this ship. Oh, my gosh. There it is. This is what happens when you're the producer. I'm the producer, the host tonight. This shit's already screwing up. I have got to get a different computer or something, internet. I don't know what it is around here. But they don't pay me enough to host and produce, but tonight I am doing both. So unfortunately / fortunately for everybody, I'm the one clicking all the buttons. I'm the one talking on the mic. I got to do everything around here. But we got a great show for you. If you missed it yesterday, please check out yesterday morning show. And then I had a great guest last night. Please check that out. Timmy B of the First Insight podcast joined us. It was joined me last night talked a lot of UFC. It was really great. We talked it was all over the place. It was a lot of fun. But so please check that out. But let's get into it tonight. We got a lot to talk about, man. There's NFL news going on. We are just a few short weeks of training camp going on. We'll be talking a little Wimbledon when Jim joins us, and then obviously when Jonathan Grishman joins us, we'll be talking a little football as well. I mean, baseball, and talking about the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going to be sellers at the deadline and things like that. So, but that's a little bit later. Let's bring in the guys. None other than a man who's about to eat some crow. The D-Hop news dropped yesterday, obviously, a 2-year deal. Got paid decent amount of money. And the man who's going to eat crow, I got to admit, I was wrong too. I didn't think D-Hop, 1 week ago, I said D-Hop's not going to go to Tennessee. And here we are 7 days later, suiting up for this man's team. Sam, what's up?
Good evening, Nick. I just spit up all the crow feathers out of my mouth, but I haven't totally dined in yet because the season hasn't started. And I'm probably going to crap my pants if he ends up with 999 yards. Woo! Told you he wasn't a number one wide receiver.
He is going to be a number one wide receiver. He's going to be your number one wide receiver.
In yards or on paper?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
All right. Okay. All right.
Both.
Cool.
And he's going to be that guy. I know you've been scoring by 30-year-old wide receivers before, but I will say
it hurts so bad. It hurts, Nick. I have nothing
I
left.
will say this, though. All those guys, when they went to Tennessee, you could tell the end was near, right? Like we knew that. So you look at Andre Johnson. He had a stint with the Colts before that, and we knew his career was on the back end. Right. You look at Randy Moss. Randy Moss we knew he was on the back. He went to played for 3. That we were as his third team that season. So we knew his best days were behind him. Mm-hmm. You look at who else?
Julio Jones.
Julio. I thought there was a little optimism, but I wasn't too super stoked about it because his last year or two in Atlanta wasn't typical Julio Jones days. Now I do think you're going to get a pretty darn good D-Hop who still has some stuff left in the tank. I still think he could get you 1,000 yards. Why Tennessee? And how do you feel about it? Hold on. Before you answer that, let's go ahead and guy who D-Hop's team scored. So we'll just go ahead and bring in our own Hall of Famer here before we get to going on this D-Hop situation.
Look at the shame. Look at it. Rebel with that shame.
What's up?
D-Hop, why did you go? What's up, guys?
D-O-B.
Listen. We have no wide receivers here, but I'm kind of glad in a way that we don't have D-Hop, Bill O'Brien news every day. So
I'm here.
The drama would have been unreal. So Sam, let's go with you. What how do you feel about the D-Hop situation? And now that he is a Titan, and you got to eat a little crow, you got to root for him to get 1,000 yards.
I have to root for him and smile as I drink mayo coffee as I do it. But the shtick is. Money, first of all. Let's just call it what it is. The contract was aggressive and whatnot. And it's always so funny to me that these guys always end up going with the teams that offer them money, and then they're like, I wanted to be here, whatever. Come on. Give me a break. Number 2, I know he likes Tim Kelly, and Tim Kelly is the offensive coordinator. He had his best years under him, and Tim Kelly is here. But notes here that you guys might not know, The Titans are not in great cap shape, so they're going to have to extend somebody, and I think it's going to be Harold Landry. So I still think they're looking to offload Tannehill after the season's over.
I think what I heard today, if I'm not mistaken, is this is basically a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
1 year
deal.
2 years.
Heavy incentive based.
Yeah, and basically the Patriots could have given D-Hop that money, and Belichick incentivized the whole contract for him, so that's why he went to Tennessee.
Yeah,
so
that's what it comes down to. We can pay it up. I am highly shocked though, because we went from what was it, Scott, minus 250 to plus again, and then Nick and I saw that the Chiefs were knocking at the door, and I'm like, well, he's going to the Chiefs. Go get you a ring, D-Hop. Why wouldn't you? So I was sitting in the middle of the Red Stadium in the burning hot seats behind home plate, close to home plate anyway, and my phone's going crazy. And thank God Nick got me on Facebook Messenger and made a different sound, or I wouldn't have looked at it. So I was like, oh, crap. So, but it's done. He's done. He's here. I'm going to root for him. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about everything. I hope we make the playoffs. And I hope he gets 1,000 yards, and I hope I have to drink mayo because of it. But I don't think I'm wrong. So prove me wrong, and I'll be happy to admit I'm wrong.
I mean, we said he took the money, and this stat was sent to me. Shout out to my guy, Kenny Miller. He said he's not even the highest paid. He's the 21st highest paid receiver off a base salary, 17th with incentives. He said he's making $13 million. He's making the same money as Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Hunter Renfrow.
Well, that's crazy. I didn't think. I thought it was pretty much an OBJ deal, wasn't it?
No, it's less than the OBJ deal.
Oh, well, okay. Maybe. All right, never mind. He likes us. Sorry.
Maybe the incentive bring it up to $15 million this year.
Well, I think it's the 2-year deal, right? It's the 2-year. He got the bag, not really the bag, but he got the 2-year security blanket, right? Not a 1-year prove it deal. He got a 2-year deal. I think he wanted the years. I don't think Kansas City was going to come give him that kind of money and that many years.
I guess this kind of signals though that the Titans are actually going to go for it. Like
go for what though?
I guess. I mean, I don't believe they're going to win a championship, but I mean that's what you play. That's what you play for. So I mean they're actually trying to do something, which I applaud them, because in the Jeff Fisher day, something like this would never, ever, 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 ever happen. So it's interesting. I find it very fascinating that he's here, and I think a lot of people around here in Tennessee feel a lot of hope. I feel a lot of apprehension. That's how I feel.
Shout out to my guy Craig. Shefty reported one of the first teams that D-Hop talked to, likely the Chiefs or the Bills, wouldn't go higher than $4 million guaranteed.
And doesn't that kind of solidify my point though? I mean, come on, why aren't they paying him more? Like if he is this excellent wide receiver, why is he not worth more than $4?
Not only that, I think the Chiefs and Bills did not have that much cap room.
The Bills definitely don't.
Yeah, Chiefs don't either. Chiefs are strapped.
No,
are they strapped? They haven't played Chris Clark yet, have they? No, they haven't.
No. So, Sam, how close does this bring Tennessee to Jacksonville, in your mind, if at all?
Oh gosh, I always hate these. Okay, I'm giving you guys this because everybody says the same thing. Sam, that's such a biased take. Blah blah blah. I've said before that this team is going to stink or whatever else. Chances have gotten better with D-Hop under your ring. I said before he would make the team better, but I didn't think he was going to play excellent. I think Chigakonkwo is going to end up with the most receiving yards. But I think you split with Jacksonville right now, and they're just going to have a head-to-head, whoever wins the most, kind of how it goes. You know?
Well, I mean, there's not a play. I don't think the winner of this division, there's not going to be a second team makes the playoffs. I don't think either one of these.
No.
You know, you win the division, you have to get in. I think there's too many other good teams.
Correct.
In the division. But I mean, if they get in the playoffs, I don't like their chances against any of these teams, any of the other teams.
I don't either. Look, I haven't seen this new offense yet. I haven't seen. They've said they get the concepts, yada yada. This is all off-season talk. We've been around enough. We've seen this a million times over. Okay, yeah. You have to show me what you're talking about. And other than that, I'm just going to go by the history. What I've seen is not great. What I've seen you draft, I'm not really impressed by. What I've seen you do so far, the last 2 years especially, I'm not really impressed by. So you've got to prove it to me. Because right now, like, all I see is you you're paying D-Hop at a pretty good amount of money when you're already strapped for cash to go out there and play. So if you really think you're going for it, by all means, prove me wrong. But until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to sit here and judge.
I mean, to me,
Judge.
Traylon Burks is the key to this team. He needs to have a good year. If he doesn't have a good – I don't care what everybody says about D-Hop. I don't care what they think. Oh, he's going to get 150 targets. He's not going to get 150 targets, number one. That's not Vrabel and Tennessee's MO. Number two, Traylon Burks now goes into the wide receiver 2 role, supposedly. He might be better off in the wide receiver 2 role, where in terms of the wide receiver 1. We saw it with Devonta Smith. We've seen it with T. Higgins. We've seen it with all these other guys. When they go from the 1 to the 2, they become much better receivers because they're not going against the best corner of that team. So I think Traylon Burks could be in for a really good year this year.
Yeah.
I disagree with that Real Fresh channel. I think Vrabel is in charge, and that's what Vrabel wanted. I don't think – and Vrabel doesn't give 2 shits about the fan base. I mean, I'm just being straight with you.
No, he doesn't.
So it might seem that way, and I honestly understand why you think so, but I think Vrabel just wanted the guy, so they went and got him. Vrabel has the most power of most NFL head coaches, more than so at this moment. So this smells like a Vrabel move. I think it's a Vrabel move. I think Chig is the most important spot, Scott. I think Chig is the most important player.
I saw on the internet today was – if Vrabel and the Titans don't make the playoffs, Vrabel's out. I said absolutely not. He's secure. They're trying to kind of build this thing again
on the move. They're rebuilding it on the move.
Yes,
that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
which is I don't like preferably, but we're going to go for it because it hardly ever works out. So
right.
I'm a student of history. I can't escape.
Scott, do you think this puts them any closer to Jacksonville?
I don't. I think
it all depends on Trevor, right?
Exactly. If Jacksonville, supposedly the rumors coming out of camp is Ridley is all that in the number 1 alpha receiver. Yeah. The new running back Tank Bigsby has been really, really good and solid. So if that's the case and Jacksonville lives up to I don't think anybody's beating Jacksonville for the division.
I'm chit chat.
I'm with you. We'll break down this whole division later in a few weeks. But I'm kind of with you. I just think, number one, Trevor Lawrence, we saw with a legitimate head coach last year, looked like the Trevor Lawrence we saw in Clemson. And that was touted the number 1 overall pick and the best prospect quarterback coming out since Andrew Luck. So, like, that's how high people were on Trevor Lawrence. So, like, that's how good people think he is. And I think he's still incredible. I do think that, the Ridley, then you add they still have Christian Kirk, who had a hell of a year last year. Zay Jones, they just locked up Evan Ingram. Like, they got a lot of offensive powers, and then they got the taste right last year. And you forget they're really just, I know Mahomes got hurt in that game, but they're just 1 or 2 plays away from Jacksonville in that Jacksonville game.
The mistakes that Trevor Lawrence makes still doesn't bother you at all? I'm honestly asking. I'm not throwing. No,
I mean, that's part of the growing pains. Now we're in year 3. I kind of equivalent to last year's his rookie year almost. So now year 3. Let's see. You got the legitimate wide receiver 1 in Ridley now. We can say Kirk was a good piece and they paid a lot of money for him, but we all knew going there he wasn't going to be a number 1. He was, like a true number 1. They had to put him on the depth chart as number 1, but he's not like a top flight guy. But now that you can knock him down and you got Ridley and you got Zay Jones, they got some guys that Lawrence can go to. So outside of, the Titans, I mean, I would, if you go position by position, you know what I mean? What is who outranks who? Quarterback, give me Trevor Lawrence, right? Receivers. I'd still take the wide receiver as a whole depth chart than the Titans. Wide receivers
as a whole, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think my defense is better
Their defense is really good. It's a good young defense.
I think mine's better.
You know,
Yeah, I think running back, you got to give it to Tennessee and Derrick
Tennessee,
Henry.
Derrick.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. My front seven is better. My defensive line is better than theirs. I'll say that.
There's no question. The thing with Jacksonville is this: their defense is not as solid as their offense is, and is that going to come back to bite them?
Maybe.
Down the stretch, if Tennessee and them are tied for
Hi,
first
Bo.
place.
What's up, Bo?
Hey, Bo, what's up? If Tennessee and them are tied for first place, coming down the last 5 games, is that defense going to be able to hold together for Jacksonville enough for them to put the division away? That's the question.
It's an interesting thing. And then you have the how do y'all feel like? Maybe I should say this for division talk, but Texans, is that shake up anything at all?
Yep, I do, and we'll talk about that in the division. I actually said that.
I'm sorry, Pod Daddy. I'm sorry.
we'll get to that. I mean, we're on the Titans, and they got Derrick Henry. That's one of the few running backs in this league that's gotten paid. And today, it just got worse for running backs. No extension for Saquon. No extension for Jacobs. There's somebody else that didn't get an extension, I felt like. But Jacobs and Saquon are the two known guys that did not get an extension, that were offered the franchise tag. And perfect timing. He must have heard us talking Giants, so we'll just go ahead and bring in our guest because he's a big Giants guy. So we got to get his take on the Saquon deal in the state of the running backs before we'll get into some other things. You guys know who he is. The legend of a man who joins us every Monday. He covers hockey. He covers wrestling. He covers football. He knows everything about everything. He knows tennis. You can catch him on LTS. You can catch him on his Twitter talking God knows what. He's covering Scott at pickleball tournaments and everything else. None other than Jim Biringer, baby.
Oh,
throw it up. Yo, Aussie Open.
Right.
Throw it up.
Let me talk to you.
Where in the world is Jim Biringer tonight? Last week he's in Vermont.
This week I'm in Jersey. The week
You
before that,
escaped Sam's basement. It looks like you're back in your normal spot with the devil the devil's logos behind you.
Clever of you to trick my daughters to giving you that chisel. Very clever.
absolutely. Yo, breaking it out. Let's go.
Jim, we're just talking about the state of the running backs, and this is your perfect timing because Saquon's your guy there in New York. No extension. It was actually reported Jacobs was in the parking lot with Max Crosby and get ready the deal was close. That deal doesn't get done either. So no extension for two of the top running backs in this league. And you see a lot of running backs coming out and saying kind of, hey, what the hell's going on? It is what, hey, Saquon tweeted, it is what it is.
Yeah, look, for me, I mean, no surprise, right? I think they were going to play on a franchise tag, right? That's what the MO was. They're going to pay Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes is going to get his money, and they make Saquon the guy to take the tag, right? But you know what? To me, I compare it to goalies, right, in the NHL. There's a guy named Connor Hellebuck who wants to get $9 million like Andre Vasilevsky. These guys deserve their money. The problem is from where I'm sitting, and I think this is where Giants management is sitting too, and the owner. It's like, dude, you've been healthy for 2 years. You had 2 good seasons. We can't give you $20 million guaranteed dollars over a 4-year contract when you haven't been healthy for the last couple. You had a great rookie season, hurt, then you come back and you have a great. But again, they ran the football. Those 2 guys were the cog in the wheel. And look, to me, he needs to show up. If he wants to get paid, he needs to show up. Can't pull Le'Veon Bell because, to be honest, you can easily be replaced. They can easily find somebody else. And taking a year off from football is never a good thing, especially if you're running back.
Well, here's the thing. Ask Le'Veon Bell how it worked out for him. He'd say he messed up. He messed his whole career up. He was never the same after that. You don't get better at something by not doing it. So that's the key. I mean, here's the thing. Saquon said he's not trying to reset the market either, so I credit to him for that. But there's just the running backs are dime a dozen, man. They're going to go get somebody that's younger and cheaper. That's the one position that you can just kind of be like, hey, we'll replace him. Here comes another rookie. Matt Millen actually tweeted today. This is how you do rookies. You draft them, you do a franchise tag them, and then you franchise tag them again, and then you draft another rookie.
And remember, Derrick Henry retweeted him, and he said, at this point, just take the running back position out of the game then. The ones that want to be great and work as hard as they can to give their all to an organization just seems like it doesn't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve. I mean, I get his position, but at the same time, I mean.
But also, Derrick Henry also got paid by Tennessee, and they gave him his money. Like, he can – if he didn't get paid, I'm wondering if he's saying this because he got paid. Like, the dude got paid. He got paid coming off one of his best seasons ever. He's a monster. He's a different running back than Saquon Barkley.
He is. And Henry's close to 2,000 yards rushing twice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he was there. Scott, you've watched football since its inception. You've seen every great running back that there is, from the likes of Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Sweetness, Emmett, to now. What's your thoughts here on the state of the running backs?
It definitely is minimized completely. I think the NFL has gone to this pass-happy offense, and I think they're headed to keep going that way. I don't think a running back's going to get over $10 million in a new contract a year going forward here. I think Saquon's going to get the most.
Unless they're special. Unless they're real special.
That's right.
Really special.
And that's the whole thing now is, Derrick Henry, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the last year of his contract, correct?
Yeah, I mean, technically it's not the last year, but they can get out of it with no hit next year. Same with Tannehill. They can get out of it. And I think they will. I think they will.
His next contract is going to be probably in the $7 to $9 million range.
If that.
No team is willing to pay these running backs anymore. Bijan, Atlanta's going to use them, reuse them, and then after his contract is up, they're going to say so long to him, unless he's that otherworldly talent that we haven't seen.
There's proof in the pudding why they started doing this. Zeke is prime example. Todd Gurley. Remember, Todd Gurley got paid by the Rams and then just absolutely fell off. Now, part of that was the Rams' fault because the man had degenerate knees from even college, and they still paid him all that money.
But and they just ran him out there all the time.
Yeah, they played Jeff Fisher ball. Yeah,
right, exactly. Look, here's the difference. Even go back to it, Scott. The Giants played the Patriots a couple of times. Look, it wasn't just Brandon Jacobs. They had Earth, Wind, and Fire. They had a triple-headed monster. Every time they went to the Super Bowl, outside of the early years when it was, O.J. Anderson running the football, the Giants kind of started this thing with this three-headed monster. Like, guys are starting to look at, even the Patriots, too. Look at Bill. I mean, just feed whoever's there. Just throw him in. Okay, this guy, White, okay. Oh, he's not good today? Okay, somebody else is going to come in. It's definitely evolved for sure. There's definitely special ones out there. But we've been seeing this year Kansas City. They ran with three guys. And, again, that's why what's-his-face isn't really going to get paid too much because, hey, it's a running back position. We could find you anywhere. And, look, do I think Saquon deserves to get paid? I would have been okay if they paid him $13-14 million a season. Hey, whatever the guarantee money is. I think every Giant fan be okay with it. I'm just not sure. I think, to be honest, I compare this to a bridge deal. I think they want him to go prove it again. And if you're healthy again, they'll go pay him.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the X factor. Is Saquon really going to come through on what he said and is going to sit out week one?
No,
I don't think so. Once you start missing paychecks, and also don't forget, if he does come back week one, how effective is he going to be? How many times we guys come in after holdouts and pull hamstring, pull quad,
quite a number.
Those are all the off-season training you can do in shorts, no shirt, all that stuff. You got to get hit and be able to play those preseason games. And I know they're meaningless and I know they don't matter, but still you get those reps, your body gets used to those reps, and now you're ready to go.
It's worked out for one guy, right? And that one guy was Emmitt Smith. You remember, it was after I think the Cowboys won their first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Games.
And he missed he said the Cowboys were 0-2. And Jerry opened up the book for Emmitt, said, "Get his ass here because we need him." And so like,
and they got blown out in those 2 games too.
Yeah,
They
did.
So like that was the one time it worked for a running back. Like it typically doesn't work for anybody, but that was the one time that it did work out. Like I said, ask Le'Veon Bell. It didn't work out for him. He said it ruined his whole career because again, you're not out there doing it. You're not in the offense. You're not practicing. You can stay at home and do all the workouts you want, but it's still different than the day-to-day grind that you're doing with your team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think he'll be there week 1. Once you start missing paychecks, like game check, like all right, off-season, all right, it sucks he's going to miss training camp, okay? All right, whatever, Strahan's missed training camp, guys in the past missed training camp, all right, big deal. When you start missing game checks and it starts affecting your wallet, that's a different story. I think that's going to be where he's going to be like, all right, I think I'd rather take $10 million than no $1 million because he's not going to get paid.
Well, that's $10 million guaranteed. That's the thing about the franchise tag. It's fully guaranteed. The franchise tag's fully guaranteed. So why not take your $10 million fully guaranteed and just call it good for the year? And then after that, they're either going to franchise tag you again, which like would be Kirk Cousins did that, right? Kirk Cousins played 2 back-to-back years on franchise tag, was fully guaranteed. And then
he made what did he make? Like $40 million or something like that? Guaranteed.
Yeah, $40 million. Yes.
Yep. I mean, look around the running back landscape. How many running backs right now are getting more than $10 million a year?
Well, that's the thing. That's why it is $10 million for the franchise tag, I believe. I'd have to.
I think McCaffrey's like 16 or something like that, right?
I think Derek's 16. I could be wrong. Maybe he's 14. I'd have to look at it again. But I mean, I guess what I think about when I hear these guys whining is a strong term, complaining about the thing. I'm like, what about the other guys? Like, what about when the wide receiver was not as appreciated as it was and running backs were? Last decade or so.
Look,
these
things
happen. It's just where we are.
Look, I'll be an analyst, but now this is me being sarcastic. Here's the smallest violin playing for all these guys that are making millions of dollars. Okay, I really don't care, and the fans don't care. Like, get your ass and go play. Like this is just me being sarcastic. But analyze-wise, like I understand where these guys are coming from. Your body takes a beating. You want to be paid for it, but it's also a business. Like, you have to understand it's also a business. Like, the minute you get drafted, you need to understand it's a business.
Exactly.
You can be out of a job like that. As long as you hit the 3-year mark or whatever the number of games is, like, that you have to get before you get your then your pension's fully guaranteed. Because I know a couple of guys that came from Jersey didn't hit that mark and lost their pension. They didn't get the full pension. As long as you can get that mark, then you're fine. But again, running back position, we've seen it, wide receiver position. The game's evolved to where it's a passing game now, and it's just pass-happy league. The run sets up this. Like, there are good teams that know still how to run the football, and you still need to do that because of set up play action. Like, the Giants are all well and good. They can run the football all they want, but they still can't throw the football down the field, and that's the problem. And they get exposed. I mean, Nick knows how many times I came on here on Monday nights during the season and said, it's a great win, but what's going to happen when they take away the run?
Or if the game got too out of control, they were playing these close one-score games. So the other player was Tony Pollard. Now, Tony did sign his franchise tag. No long-term deal was reached, but Saquon and Josh Jacobs have not signed their, and it's $10 million. And the reason it's $10 million is because that's what the market sets. So when they do the franchise tag, I think they take the average or that you get like the highest, like this, whatever the average of like the second highest or the highest of the top 3 at that position or something like that. So the running back is at 10 million because running backs aren't paying anybody, but that franchise tag's guaranteed. So like Kirk Cousins got like his. His franchise tag was an astronomical amount because
The quarterback position.
The quarterback sets the market, right? Like that's the highest paid position in all, in all the football. So
Wasn't he the highest paid quarterback one year because of that franchise tag?
Yeah, 2 years. They're back to back. The second year for sure, fully guaranteed.
You like that?
Yeah, you like that. So like that's why it's $10 million. It was those three guys. Tony Pollard didn't get an extension done today either, playing on a 1-year franchise tag, which smart for Dallas. I would do the same thing. Guy coming off an injury, guy who has never really proven himself to be the workhorse now. So smart for Tony, or smart for the Cowboys, and to pay the $10 million. And I don't know, who knows what happens with Tony after this year. We'll find out in about 8 months.
And have you heard anything from Tony Pollard's camp about dissatisfaction with the franchise tag? You haven't heard a word.
But he's
also injured.
He's coming back.
He's not in a position to be talking about the franchise tag when he just got injured at the end of the season.
And he's not a guy that's been the workhorse in the face of the franchise, right? Like Saquon's been the workhorse, the top guy since the day he stepped on the field.
Look, and last year they had Breida and they had Saquon. It was a good backfield for that. So I like, they brought him back. Hopefully he shows up. I think if he's smart and he talks to Le'Veon Bell and he talks to some of these other guys, we know it worked out for Emmett, but that's a rare case. Yeah. Again, most of the time it doesn't work out. And look, Saquon, he's a great running back. He is. He was a great running back in college. Dable got him starting to go north-south again, which is what and generate through the power of those legs that he posts on Instagram all the time, all those workouts. But his legs are great. Instead of doing that, instead of going east-west, he's going north-south again. And he's just grinding through the hole, which is great for the Giants. But, again, can they find somebody in training camp? They might. They've done it before. I think Ahmed Bradshaw was there too, like in training camp years ago. They just, hey, all right, this kid just showed up. Okay, here we go. Put him in.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see what the Giants do with Saquon and Josh Jacobs with the Raiders. It seems like that deal was almost done. I think they can still work out a deal and get it, even though the deadline's passed. I don't know how that works out, but they can. I don't know if they don't sign it.
I don't think they can until the season, I want to say. Once the deadline hits, you can't talk extension until after week 1 of the NFL season. So
maybe who knows what happens there with either one of those guys. Jim, let's switch topics here. Wimbledon, we got the Wimbledon final this past weekend. My first question to you is
15 love.
If you won Wimbledon, I'm eating off the plate, right? I'm eating off the plate. I'm not. Why a plate? I'm eating off of it. Give me a spare ribs and a cold beer, and I'm eating and drinking off of the Wimbledon plate.
Well, the Wimbledon plate is the ladies' championship. Marketa Vondrasova won that on Saturday, but the gentlemen get the nice trophy with their name on it. And
okay.
And I've never seen anybody drink out of it. I've seen a lot of guys take a bite into it and kiss it. But look, that plate is nice too. I would definitely eat off that plate. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, bring out the fine china, baby. Hey, bring out my Wimbledon plate. I'm about to flex on all our guests.
But the tradition.
Your Wimbledon plate, sir.
It's a great tradition. In July, I've watched many championship Sundays in July, sunny days. A lot of days, I wouldn't say wasted, but a lot of days in front of the television watching a lot of classic matches. And I saw another one on Sunday between Alcaraz and Djokovic, and the hype. Those two guys lived up to it. It didn't look good early, but once he settled down, got into it, won the breaker, won that big 27-minute match in the third set. This kid looks unbelievable at 20 years old. He made the proper adjustments. He slowed his game down. He wasn't going too big. And he just kept calm, cool, collective, and he figured out a way to win. And everybody says, growing up, that's the tournament they want to win because it's the most prestigious in all of tennis.
You surprised Djokovic lost?
No, I am not actually. No, I'm not surprised because I've seen. Look, he's one of the greatest tennis players ever to play. Mm-hmm. No doubt, he won the first 2 majors this year. I've seen when history's on the line, with some of these big guys, the pressure does become too big. It became big for Serena. It became big for Novak at the U.S. Open when Medvedev beat him when he was going for the calendar Grand Slam. They talk about, oh, yeah, I can handle the pressure and all this, but it's a different kind of pressure when that kind of history is on the line. You're tying an all-time legend in Margaret Court, overall 24 majors. You're tying Roger Federer, probably the most beloved tennis player ever in the game, and his 8 Wimbledon titles. You know what? Carlos Alcaraz was able to come in and just grind it out, and he knew what he had to do, and he did it. And congratulations to the young 20-year-old who's got 2 majors to his name, a bunch of Masters 1000s, and he was able to make adjustments from his loss in Paris to Novak, where, the cramping and the electrolytes and whatever his body was going through and the nervousness and the energy, whatever he said he did that wasn't right that day was good in the final, and he played really well.
2-part question, Jim. Number one is, how many more years does Djokovic have at the top/elite level, do you think? And number 2, this kid Alcaraz, can he get to the Djokovic-Federer stage of a career in tennis?
All right, so I think what is that? Novak's 36 now.
He said I did see a quote from him. 36 is the new 26 or something like that.
Yeah, Alcaraz said to Novak, he's like, "Yeah, you make 36 the new 26." Look, the way Novak takes care of his body and does all the flexibility and all that stuff, he could be at the top of the game for a couple of more years. But there's always that downswing that comes, and it comes quick, and you don't know when it's going to come. I think he'll be fueled come the Open. He's going to want to win. It's the first time back in a while. But again, there's a lot of young players that want to come and get it. Medvedev beat him in a final. Alcaraz beat him in a final. Guys beat him in Masters 1000s. The young group of guys that are coming are hungry. And as far as Alcaraz is concerned, look, he's halfway to the career Grand Slam. Australia and Paris are the next 2 that he needs to win. This kid probably can rack up. I think he can get close. I would say he could probably get into the teens. I don't know if he's going to touch Federer. That group of the big 3 with Federer and Nadal and Djokovic, those guys were just so dominant.
Yeah.
So dominant. Like, each guy had their own dominant run too. Like Federer, when he came in after he won the Open, when he won Wimbledon in 2003, he just goes on that run through like 2003 to 2007, and like 2005 through 7 was complete domination. But he kept it going. Nadal came in, he was winning on clay all the time. Djokovic, he was taking losses to all those guys, and then he figured out how to turn it around. But don't forget, Murray was in there. Biringer won a couple. It's funny to think that, yes, the big 3 dominated. And you could say big 4.
20 years, right? Like
right. Well, Alcaraz is the first guy since Leighton Hewitt not named Federer, Nadal, Murray, or Djokovic to win Wimbledon.
Yeah.
So that's how grasp they had on that.
That's crazy.
But look, you look at it. Federer won, 5 in a row. He went to 7 straight finals and won 6 of them. Probably should have gone to more. He could have won 7 in a row potentially. There were a couple other years where he probably could have won. He lost early, or he lost to Djokovic in the final. I think the one everybody knows is 2019. He had the match point, and he had the chance to win it, to make it number 9.
Yeah.
He won 5 in a row in the U.S. Open. Like, that run where he was just piling up majors, it's remarkable what he did. Novak too.
Yeah.
Look, Alcaraz can get there, but again, I think there's more. Like I said, you had Murray in there. Biringer won a couple. Del Potro. I mean, if that guy didn't get injured, how many majors would he won? Then who else was in there? Cilic won a U.S. Open. There were only a couple of guys that really did anything. Thiem and Medvedev. That was about it. And then everybody, it was the big 4 that dominated. And look, Alcaraz can get to that level. I mean, look, Rune's in there. You have Sinner, Medvedev, like all these guys, and Thiem's starting to play better again. And if he can get his ranking back up, Man, look out! Game's in good hands when Novak does call it a career.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Right,
For
like
sure.
this. What's his name? The guy who won, Jim. What's the 20-year-old? You said his name's
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. So like him and they got to find those guys, right? Because like the game, both men and women's tennis has been dominated by about 5 people the last 20 years. You had the Williams sisters for the most part on the women's side, and mixed in with like 1 or 2, and then in the men's, we just talked about it, the big 4. I really think it's the big 3. Andy Murray got a little bit of shine. He won like 2 Wimbledons, and maybe he won I remember maybe a U.S. Open or something like that.
All right, so the year he won, he lost to Federer in 2012 at Wimbledon, but then a few weeks later he beat him at the London Olympics in the gold medal, in the singles gold medal, which allowed him to win his first major at the U.S. Open. And I think he's only got like 3 to his name.
So really, it was like the big 3, and then he had like a good 2-3 year run in there where he was like, and then he got hurt and retired and called.
But he's back. I mean, he's back. He's playing well. I mean, if he didn't lose in the second round and the way he went out, he had a chance to make a deep run. His draw was actually really good this year. He could have made a deep run. Like you saw, if Scott was probably watching. You saw like the shots of him in a royal box, and he's just thinking to himself, "I'm like, dude, I could have been here." He had the look on his face. He's like, "Man, I should be playing on the final right now."
Exactly. On the women's side, Vondrousova that won. She's the first unranked woman to win ever, or in a long, long time.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah,
and last year at this time she wasn't playing because she had wrist surgery.
Right. So that's highly impressive with the way.
And another Czech, and think about it, another Czech, a lefty Czech that wins Wimbledon. Yeah. All right, I see everything getting thrown around. Martina won. She was from Czechoslovakia. A couple of early titles, she was there. Then you had Jana Novotná, Kvitova, and now you have Vondrousova. So I mean, like the Czechs, those lefty Czechs on grass. Something about lefties on grass. I mean, Nadal's got 3 Wimbledon titles too. So I mean, Goran I think has 1. So I mean, lefties on grass is something special. But look, this kid Alcaraz, look, he's got the tools, he's got the weapons. He's only 20, and he's only going to get better. And the fact that he's got 2 majors already, and he's won, he's grinded them out. I mean, last year he grinded out the U.S. Open. I mean, that was ridiculous how many 5-setters he won to just win the title. And this year he had the ability, and you could see it. He frustrated Novak a lot in that final.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, what you see at Wimbledon and what you're going to see at the U.S. Open is going to be totally different things.
Completely different.
Yeah,
the fact that he's 20 is just amazing to me. That's just
but before these 3 guys, Federer and Nadal, like 20, you were in your prime in tennis. 20 at 28, like you're past your prime. Like
Agassi was the first guy to say, okay, you know what? We hit the age of 30, I'm gonna win majors, because he was with Gil Reyes and he was out in Vegas training, like conditioning his body. But don't forget, like the first half of Agassi's career, it wasn't like the great. Like he did win a couple of majors, but he wasn't like the Agassi we saw at the end, because he just didn't want to like be a part of the sport because of like all the work that went into just being that guy. And then when he came back, and the second half of his career where he took off, and with Brad Gilbert, and he had to come back at the French to complete the calendar Grand Slam, and the Grand Slam. And so yes, 20 rows. You think about it. Boris Becker won 2 before 21 back-to-back Wimbledon, 17, 18. Courier won a couple French Open. Michael Chang was 18 when he won a French Open. Yeah, at that time, guys were turning pro at that young. Now some guys are taking college routes. They're staying in challengers a little bit longer. How they come up. But now, like Federer took some time. Nadal took time. Djokovic. Like all these guys had to figure it out. Alcaraz has got 2 to his name, and he's only going to get better. And these other guys that are the up-and-comers are going to get them as well.
Jim, let's before we get you out of here, we always got to talk a little wrestling with you, because Sam will start falling asleep and he gets all pouty if we don't talk wrestling. You messaged me on yesterday and asked me if I watched that tag match on Collision, the 2 out of 3 FTR versus Jay White and Juice Robinson. Man, that was one of the best tag matches I've seen in a very long time. What was your thoughts there too? I mean, it was incredible.
I mean, these guys have put on killer matches back-to-back weeks. I will say this: I saw and I think you and I were talking about this on Facebook page. Without Collision, this doesn't happen. I'm gonna be straight honest. If we only have Dynamite, this doesn't happen. Okay, we don't get these matches. I will agree with Dave Meltzer. I don't agree with him much. This is probably the best American tag team match I've seen on TV ever. Like ever.
I don't know. It reminded me of FTR and I believe DIY. NXT.
Yeah, and NXT. I mean, NXT but that was also pay-per-view that they did.
You mean like live on live TV,
live TV,
like linear television,
like linear cable
okay.
television.
I thought you meant just like live,
I've seen some. I've seen some really good tag team pay-per-view matches. I mean, there was been some Dynamite tag team matches that have been really good. Nothing was on this level.
So you mean like minutes. Just like Raw, Smack, the linear?
Yeah, the linear program.
I got you.
Like I haven't. Maybe you have to go back to even the Attitude Era, but even that you didn't really get quality.
Well, nobody's going for an hour. That's the thing. It's like most programs aren't letting you wrestle for an hour. Like
these guys went 58 minutes, and you heard at the 55-minute mark, 5 minutes left, and you're like, damn. And the first 2 falls took forever. They took 40 minutes combined. And Jay White was kicking out of everything under the sun. I mean, that match was remarkable. Like
I thought they were going to go the route of the draw again, and I was gonna be pissed. I probably would.
I was gonna be so mad if they drew.
Because that would have been like the 4th time that they've done this, like great. You know what I mean? Every time it feels like I'm like, if they go to this fucking draw again, like. Come up with something new, and luckily we get the pretty much a clean finish. You know, you knew they weren't going to pin Jay. It was going to be Juice.
Jay's being protected, which is the right call. Juice took both spots. He took that, the big rig off the double guys on the ring. That was a really cool spot. And then Dax takes the ring off and goes deep into sharpshooter because we're in Calgary and we got to pay Bret Hart homage and Owen Hart homage. So I mean, but look, these two guys. Let me tell you something. Jay White and Juice Robinson, dude. These guys. I mean, if you didn't know who they were beforehand, you now know who these guys are. This match was awesome. Back-to-back weeks, killer matches, kicking off the show the right way.
FTR is the best tag team going. You think, Jim?
Yeah,
best
I was
tag
just
team. Period. Best tag team in the world right now. I've loved these guys going back to Revival days in NXT when they had matches with DIY. I will put them up against anybody right now. These guys know how to put on a wrestling match. There's differences, right? The Usos are great what they do, but they know how to. I don't know if they could go an hour like that. Like, I just don't think they can go an hour like
It's different little styles, too, I feel like, too. Like, FTRs, they're not doing that high-flying, off the top ropes. They're a little – it's just different style of wrestling.
It's Arn and Tully. That's who they are. They're that kind of style. Look, they probably could go an hour with the Bucks. Like, we know, like, that is – everybody loves those two teams. And, but to me – the most complete, like these guys are the best tag team going right now, and they're the best tag team in the world. And until somebody proves me otherwise, they had a year. They won all the major gold. They were dominating, and now they're back on top again. I mean, these guys are awesome.
I think it's. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
the
Scott.
Bucks. Do you think AEW was doing right by the Bucks to putting them in this elite thing? Should the Bucks be out there battling FTR, not week after week, but every so often? I mean, they seem like they're
I think we haven't had the second match yet. Everybody wants. We only got one match, and the Bucks won it. We haven't got the second match yet, which was supposed to happen last year, and it didn't, because Kenny Omega was coming back, and they wanted to put the trios titles on the Elite. And I think to have them, I think that come back full circle with the Elite. That's how the company started. You know, we really never got. We got the Elite in the, Stadium Stampede during the COVID. The Elite was supposed to be in the first ever Blood and Guts match. I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be there in Newark in March of 2020. It was supposed to be the Elite versus Jericho and the Inner Circle. That was the match. COVID just shut everything down. So
they're going to be in Scott's backyard in Boston on Wednesday for the Blood.
That's gonna be a hell of a match.
Don't ruin the shuffleboard court though. He needs to.
I think that having Kota Ibushi enter Golden Elite with the Bucks, I think this is a good thing for them. You got Pac Pac just fits the Blackpool Combat Club. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. The feud with Kenny Omega, and there's still so much more we could tell with Pac and Kenny Omega. They never really, Pac never really got a shot when Omega was champion. That match I wanted to see. There's, so much stuff you can go back to. So I think this is nice to see them come full circle. Guys are working stuff on their own, too. If you didn't love wrestling, then this past weekend wasn't for you. Collision, Impact, AAA, all had banger matches. All of them.
Sam, you had a question?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of bummed because it came across my board the other day that Bayley's injured on the WWE, in a house show, which is unfortunate. Yeah, and I wonder if they're going to change things for Io Sky, and I wonder if Jim had a comment on that because she's not going to be able Bayley's her number 2
mouthpiece. She's her mouthpiece, really.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm curious what they're going to do about that.
What WWE should do. Look, they're known for taking stuff from AEW, and they don't want to admit it, but this is what they should do. Depending on the severity of her injury, you put her in a wheelchair, a la Britt Baker, and have her on TV every week with Io. We know Io's going to take off on her own eventually.
They did that with The Miz. Remember, The Miz tore his ACL, and they still rolled him out there.
Right. So she's popular. She's over. She's a good, talker. To have her there, I think Io's going to be on her all. Io's a baby face right now. That's plain and simple. Io's a baby face right now, and I think she'll be champion soon, and it'll be great.
Many consider her one of the hardest worker wrestlers in sports. And I totally agree. She slowly has gotten better as she has wrestled her way through.
I mean, I loved Io when she was Io Shirai, as her name was in NXT. The genius of the sky, Io Shirai, as I know her as. But she's really good. She's put on so many great matches.
She really has.
And she's going to be a champion eventually. Don't know when.
Kind of like our boy LA Knight's going to be USA champion after SummerSlam.
Charlotte's there part-time now. Charlotte's part-time. Everybody needs to look at that. She's part-time. Yeah. Bianca Belair is run her course. She that's that. Asuka right now is okay as a champion, but I think Io Sky can take that women's division to another level.
She can have quality matches with anybody.
Yes. So I think they need to put the title not fast because what's Triple H about? He's about the slow burn and the storyline. So I think maybe at Royal Rumble Survivor Series, Io Sky needs to win the title.
I think there's gonna be a 3-way between Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka. And that's where the title is going to be. I think that's where the title is going to change hands. They're all 3 down. Io comes in and then hands a briefcase, moonsault, 1, 2, 3, new champ, something like that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Before this goes, do you think Triple H wants Charlotte to get to 16 and then that's it?
But again, okay. So 16 world titles, not for nothing. But if you look at Ric Flair's title runs and you compare them to Charlotte's, there's no comparison. He's had a lot longer reigns as a world champion than she did. Like, how many times did that belt go back and forth between her and Sasha in like a 3-month period?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Jim,
because she won the title and it was, all right, I'm going to take some time off. Okay, now you have to drop the title. So 2 months after she won it, she's going to drop it because she wants to take time off to get married, to do whatever she needs to do. So to me, I agree. No comparison between her and her dad. So
look, 16 titles, big deal. So what? The problem is the number doesn't mean anything anymore because the titles don't have any meaning to them anymore.
Exactly.
Right. That match with Austin Theory is intriguing. It feels like they've been pushing Austin Theory so hard, and it's just
he's
never
falling
taken
flat
off.
Though. He has no momentum.
He's totally flat right now.
And then you have LA Knight, not to toot my own horn here, walks out and does like a 5-minute promo and it gets 8 million views. He just whatever.
Dude, this guy's everywhere. Dude, LA Knight's like everywhere. Like everybody's pulling up like old clips from everywhere.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. Oh, I saw videos of the Ohio Valley.
Ohio Valley Wrestling, LA Knight. Like you find
LA Knight I was gonna ask you guys, and I think I know the answer. LA Knight or Jey Uso, who's the most over in WWE right now?
Oh, it's LA Knight without a 100%. Question.
The pop he gets is ridiculous. Like, it is absolutely nuts.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but he's turned it up just a little bit with his facial expression to show
you can talk audience. About
but what I'm saying is with his facial expression similar to like Austin Rock, where they knew if they weren't on television or they only had a short, they would show you how mad they were. And then they would let you know it with the mic skill. And that's like a subtle detail like he's starting to put into his work with a character because he was mad when he wasn't on television. He comes out 2 minutes, and don't forget, he was the only guy in that 4-way that came out and did the promo. Everybody else had backstage promos.
Yeah,
and he did a good job at it too. It wasn't like just a flippant thing. He went out there and actually like just tore into Jake Paul.
Hey, Jim, one last question before we get you out of here. Back to the AEW real quick. Right call for Ricky Starks, absolute Ricky Starks to go over on Punk. He's now been over on Punk and Chris Jericho. This kid's got a bright future.
I think they're setting him up to be a champion down the road. He might be. You never know. He could be the guy to take the international title off of Orange Cassidy.
I like it. I think
the TNT.
I don't even know who's the hell the TNT champion. I don't even know anymore.
Luchasaurus is Christian Cage says.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. But I think because I think maybe Orange could be maybe he takes it off of Orange, and because look, he used the ropes, little cheating, and then the way he takes the trophy and just walks off. Obviously, on Battle of Belts, it was different. He has to be nice with Martha Hart and not really be a character. But the fact that he just who the hell was oh my God, who the hell came out? That guy from Japan, like one of Owen Hart's rivals.
Oh yeah, Kenosho or whatever his name.
Yeah, and he just took it. Tiger. Yeah, he just came out, took the trophy, and walked by him. He didn't even do anything. So I think he's gonna turn back heel, even though he's over as a babyface. I think the heelish stuff.
Well, that's kind of like LA Knight. LA Knight's supposed to be a heel, but he's so over. It's he's a face, so it's like you can have the heelish tendency still, but you can still be a face.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Ricky. I think to me they're setting up Ricky to be a champion. Maybe at the end of this year, who knows? But I think they're setting him up to be a champion because you just beat Punk. You beat Jericho. You have some nice wins. I think they're going to set him up to be a world champion. Not the world guy, but I think he's going to – I would not be surprised if he is the next international champion because he's paid his dues. Remember, Cody's the one that brought him in. He had the TNT Open Challenge, all that stuff. He's been there a while. He's really paid his dues. And he now has a lot of, muster behind him. Unlike, and I have to say this, I'm not a big fan of this move. I like the fact that sometimes AEW doesn't give you your wins and you don't come in like red hot and you get titles right away. Unlike Impact, where Trinity beat Deonna Purrazzo like right away to win the Impact Women's World Title. I'm like, come on, like really, you're gonna win in your first title match? Like they didn't do it for Nick Aldis because that would have been the guy to do it for.
Yeah.
But they do it for her. I don't know, unless Deonna's taking some time off. But I mean, look. I'm just not a fan of that. I don't like that. And by the way, if anybody go YouTube, Vikingo and Kenny Omega 2 at AAA, Triple Mania. Holy crap. They tore the house down again, these guys.
Jim, it was a pleasure as always talking to you every Monday. We appreciate it. And maybe we'll talk, we'll have a little bit more hockey. There wasn't a lot of hockey news this week. So
the only thing I will say about the hockey front, the 10-year rebuild, Chicago, they got their man, Connor Bedard, 3-year entry-level deal today. I think Ross Colton signed like a 4-year deal.
Hey, all right. Hey, we'll see you in the playoffs, in 10 years, Blackhawks.
Yeah, exactly. 10-year plan. 10-year plan quoted by, Sports Buffoons now on Let's Talk Sports Show. We have the 10-year plan in Chicago. Ross Colton got a nice deal in Colorado, got $4 million over 4 years. Again, nice player. That's a little high on the AAV, but hey, you know what? Guys are getting paid, so why not? The only things really out there before I get out of here, Tarasenko's still unsigned, Dumba's still unsigned. Where does Hellebuck go? Are we trading Carlson, Matthews, stuff like that? But again, it's the dog days of the summer. A lot of NFL talk. We know Hard Knocks is right around the corner. Jets and Aaron Rodgers, Giants, all the fun stuff. But definitely. We're getting close. We're inching. We're getting closer to SummerSlam. All in. All right. For the guys here, because I know if there's a bundle for All Out and All In, you taking the bundle, or are you just going off the better card for the pay-per-view? I know Nick doesn't pay for stuff anymore anyway, but if you had to, would you get
probably
a bundle?
buy the bundle, right? Probably buy the bundle. Yeah.
The bundle.
Me too. But again, I don't know if it's gonna be offered. They haven't even said if All Out is on pay-per-view.
No.
They
don't even have a match made.
They don't have a match made.
Did they talk about HBO for All Out?
So they're talking. There's a deal working with Warner Brothers, which could happen, Scott. That they're working that out. Well, Jim, we'll catch you next Monday, brother. We appreciate it as always. We'll see you next Monday. Give it up for the legendary man that is Jim Biringer, everybody.
Jim, before you go, could you remind everybody which name is on Superstar? Which superstar is on everybody's lips?
Yo, let me talk to you. Everybody's saying it's L.A. Knight. Yeah. Have a good night, guys. Have a good night.
Hey, speaking of superstars, we got to go ahead and bring in our next guest. He's the superstar. This man taught himself to pitch left-handed. I can't even jerk off left-handed. And this guy's pitching left-handed as a young kid. So that's how legend and superstar this guy is. Give it up for our very own professional baseball player, Jonathan Grisham. Jonathan, what's up?
I can't even look at him. Look at him.
What a hell of an introduction.
Hey, only the best, baby.
Jonathan, you look like you're about to cut a hell of a promo on somebody.
Listen, before Jonathan goes, shout out to Alan. He almost cut his finger off in a lawn mowing accident. So
is that what happened? I asked him what happened. I just thought I thought the Rangers were losing and he just couldn't handle it anymore and just cut his finger off.
He did not lose to my Guardians. I'm telling you that right now. He did not lose.
Yeah, so
I saw it. It was painful. It was very painful.
Yeah.
Jonathan, how was the weekend? Girls kicked some ass this weekend.
We did. It was a good weekend. It was a long weekend. We had to travel again out a little bit. It was a nice little 2.5 hour drive for me to go play at a showcase for my 18U team. Had some good moments. We had some girls. Actually talked to a couple of colleges, which is always the goal for us, especially for that team. As again, we have girls who are about to be seniors and juniors, so this is the time for the recruiting. So we had a few girls that have talked to schools that are going to get some interest from them with some good ball. We played some good games. We competed. We had a moment where we probably should have made a run. We got a little tired as it went from 75 and rainy, in the morning on Sunday to 108 degrees by 2 p.m. So it was just one of those like, hey, this is going to be a rough day. But a couple more home runs were hit this weekend by my 18U team. We had a grand slam that actually gave us a lead and won the game for us on Saturday. So very proud moments, very good moments for us. My 10U team played this weekend. They were down in Galveston, Texas for nationals. And they were able to finish in the top 7 in the tournament as well for them. So very proud how well they played and how they competed down there. So another good finish at a nationals tournament for our organization. It's always the best thing for us.
Jonathan, the team who's not been killing it like your girls are is the St. Louis Cardinals. It's been reported that they are going to sell now. Their GM said, yeah, we're going to try to sell, but with hopes that, we're going to contend next year. I think we've talked about it before. You told me Marmal's going to be gone. It's going to be, Molina's team next year. But, I mean, they're right. They're 40 and 53. They're 11 and a half back. To me, the Padres are the most disappointing team, but you could put the Cardinals in that category. Who are they going to trade if they're trying to compete next year? Because on paper, they got a team that should be able to compete.
Should be, but I mean, we haven't seen the leadership do what they needed to do for this team. And again, that's where I put a lot of the blame on Ali Marmol for the cause of this, because of the decision making that he's done throughout the year. You're hearing a lot of talk of the pitchers that you have. Jack Flaherty, Montgomery are some of the pitchers that you're hearing, being open for business with the Cardinals. You can go to Jordan Hicks in the bullpen, which a lot of teams are needing arms for bullpen wise. Jordan Hicks has been talked about as far as availability for teams to consider trading for. I mean, there's talks about Goldschmidt and Arenado. They've kind of said they don't want to trade those guys. I mean, you got, and rightfully so. You have to have something going into 2024 with potentially a new manager and new regime with the front office. Trading your 2 superstars, your all-star guys that have been MVP candidates in the past, that would be a horrible, horrible thing to do. You have the arms, and again, I know trading starting pitching like Flaherty and Montgomery, and I haven't heard Mikolas's name mentioned in trade talks, but for Flaherty and Montgomery, those are guys that you were talking about building a future of the now and in the building for the now, because you're supposed to be the division leader with this team, but it was supposed to be built around the pitching of Jack Flaherty, Miles Mikolas, Jordan Montgomery, or Montgomery, to be able to have those 3 with Wainwright kind of falling out into the sunset with potentially his last year. It'll be so you had everything lined up, but you didn't. It just didn't work out. So you're going to trade 2 of your pitchers. I think they're looking at it and saying Flaherty's been a little bit of a disappointment. He's been up and down. Montgomery has been up and down. I think they're buying into Mikolas more. Interesting, I think, but those are the guys that I think that are probably the more target available if you're the Cardinals that you want to pursue to trade, and maybe Tyler O'Neill, from what happened between him and Marmol beginning the season, there's probably some guys that you could probably position-wise look for. But because pitching is a premium as always during a deadline, that's why they're looking at Flaherty and Montgomery and Hicks to be the main targets to trade, to find suitors for, to get a good haul back, to build for a better future, because you're going to need to get a future with young teams like Cincinnati, who's jumped out into the world right now. Brewers are still there. Pittsburgh's shown glimpses. I don't know if we can really buy into the future.
They're falling off. They're 4th now. The Cubs are 3rd, and then the Pirates are. And then
but they show a future.
Yeah,
They've shown a pretty bright future if they continue to make a couple more moves here and there. Which will they do? I don't believe in Pittsburgh's office to do that, but they have shown there's a future. Cincinnati has shown a future. Milwaukee is still the present. So if you're the Cardinals, you're looking at the 2 teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds, who have shown glimpses of what the future looks like. You got to make some moves that can get you elevated quickly to contend, hopefully again in 2024, but beyond with the future that you're going to be competing against with the Reds and Pirates as well.
I was sorry. I was in Cincy this weekend to watch the Reds or whatever, and I was super excited. But then they came out flat for both games, and my in-laws are all Reds fans, and they were not happy. This being their one trip a year to go see a baseball game. I mean, if the Cincinnati's got to get anywhere, I saw a lot of good play, but their bullpen, I mean, they just got to get it together. They couldn't pitch to save their lives the last 2 games I was there for.
Yeah, and it's a lot of teams that are like that right now. There's a lot of teams that you're going to sit there that are contenders, and again, I think I think at this point, at least now, we can still kind of say Cincinnati's a contender. But a lot of contenders are looking at their bullpens and saying we're taxed, we're injured, maybe we got to do something to at least get a little bit better, or a little bit deeper. So, and I think you have to credit, and I say credit, but you have to attribute the new pitch clock, the new rules that are speeding this game up, and they're not. Teams haven't adjusted as far as saying we need our starting pitchers to go longer. This is, I think we're going to start really as I said to you guys, I think probably a few weeks or a month ago, you may see it may take some time, make it take a year or 2 or 3 for teams to be like, okay, we do need our starting pitchers to go 6-7 innings now. We can't go 4 innings on a bullpen, and in April, May, June, and expect them to be fresh and ready in September, October when the playoffs and postseason starts up. So it's going to take some time, but you're seeing these guys are taxed right now because they've been doing the strategy that's been going on for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And now with the pitch clock speeding things up, and you're still having these guys try to pitch quick, it's taxing these guys. So a lot of teams, and again, my Braves are no exception. We've got some injuries in the bullpen right now that you're going to have to make some decisions. You have a lot of teams at the deadline that are circling bullpen arms. So it's going to be a mad race, and probably a lot of teams are going to overpay, which is something you don't really see a lot of. And I think that's why I kind of credit what the Rangers did by trading for Aroldis Chapman and not giving up a lot in the process. They just made the move right then and there. So we're not going to wait. We'll just offer you something now, and they got the deal. But as you get
they got ahead of the market, right? They didn't let the market. Absolutely. They got to set the market or dictate it. Like, hey, we're going to go out here and get this guy. We need him ASAP. I want to stay with the Reds real quick. If you're the Reds, and we just talked about it, do you just ride out this wave because they're only 2 back of the Brewers? You just say, hey, like, let's just ride out what we got. No matter what happens, we overachieved this year. Or do you say, hey, we got a chance to win this thing? We're not going to mortgage the future for this year, but if we can go get a bullpen arm or a bona fide ace, do we go out and get it, but not mortgage the future? Because no matter what, I think Reds fans would be happy because nobody saw this coming this year.
No, nobody did.
I'm not trading for a 1 year, like a half a season rental. No, I agree with that. If I'm the Reds at this point, I'm looking for an arm who's going to be in my organization for 2 to 3 years that I can supplant, kind of what the Mariners did last year with Luis Castillo. You know, they traded for him and they were able to extend him even longer from there to give him a little bit more of that cushion. I'm looking at the aspect of trying to get a guy for 2 to 3 years to come in because my farm system is one of the best in baseball. We're seeing it with Ellie De La Cruz and what he's doing right now in the big leagues. We have more behind him, so I have a great farm system. I'm only going to trade pieces that are controllable for the next 2 to 3 years. I'm not making a move of a 1 year guy to essentially compete this year. If we don't win the World Series and we made the move to do so, well, we failed. And now we're going to take a step back, which, again, look at the landscape of the division. You're younger. You're more athletic than a lot of these teams in your division. You're set up better right now. And the younger teams, I said this with Scott and Allen on Tuesdays, younger teams are thriving with this new rules going on. Yeah. And you look at it and say the top dog team in your division for the last decade or so is the St. Louis Cardinals, and they've collapsed. This division is wide open, not just for 2023, but for the next 5 years if you're Cincinnati.
Will you tell Jed Hoyer that? To call Jed Hoyer and tell him?
I mean, well, the Cubs, and again, Cubs are not in a bad position right now. I think they're setting themselves up for to at least make some more moves. I think not this year, but this offseason, I think they're going to find a way to at least open the checkbook a little bit more. You know, will they get big name guys? No, but you don't need big name guys right now. I think you need to get depth and get a little bit younger and find more talent to add to that roster. And you have a good core. I mean, you have a good core. What you're going to do with Cody Bellinger is going to be the next question. I think you're going to extend him maybe
I'd like to. Why not extend him and Stroman, right? But Jonathan, they're probably traded. They're probably both gone. I would be more surprised if they're on the roster opening day next year than
Stroman's not. They've for some reason. I will say this. For some reason they don't want to extend Stroman. I don't get why.
Me neither.
I think he would look good with an A on his hat and be in down south in the dirty south of Georgia. I've loved Marcus Stroman for a long time.
He's a good pitcher. He's a real good.
And you put him, if you make him a number 3, that's pretty dirty. I mean, he's proven to be number 1 and number 2. He's proven, with Toronto, he's a number 1. In New York, at the time behind DeGrom, he was number 2. He's proven to be a very, very good pitcher. So I don't understand why the Cubs are kind of reluctant to not extend him.
And he wants to stay there. He said that. You know what I mean?
I talked to you about that, at one point where they said, we talked about this, about how Stroman has made the comments of wanting to be in Chicago long term. He's very vocal, probably hurting his value at times, speaking so publicly about it. But the Cubs they haven't entertained it. So I agree. I think he could be the one who's on the way out traded. Just because.
I do got one last Cub question, then we'll stop talking about the Cubs. Tucker Barnhart,
yes, please,
a higher WAR than Chris Bryant and Javi Baez. Did the Cubs get that right? Did they get getting rid of Javi and KB right?
I do. I do. Because again, I've personally never been high on Javi Baez. They were able to get the value.
I love to watch him play there.
He's flashy. He's exciting. Great. But I've never considered him a top 5 shortstop in the game. I've never considered him to be so. And there's been a lot of I've talked to Cubs fans before. There's some on my extended family side. I have some Cubs fans, and they were at the time they were just putting Baez on a pedestal. And I'm like, we're not watching the same guy, but that's a different story on that.
He does struggle at the plate. He's always struggled, and we knew that. He'd always high strikeout guy, but he's fun to watch. And I've always said there for a while. He was one of the best, most exciting players to watch.
Yeah. But the value at the time, I think, was the highest they could have gotten for him. If you waited it out another year or so, you weren't going to extend him because again, you already committed to a rebuild. You're trading Rizzo, you're trading Bryant. You were not going to. I mean, what was the future for Baez in Chicago? There wasn't. So it was a good thing that they made the trade and got him out of there. He went to New York, right? I believe they traded him. The Mets.
It was Lindor and him together. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got what the value was at the time. I think the highest it was because he was not. He's not a top 5. So you're a top 5 shortstop. So you're not going to get the top dollar for him, but you weren't going to extend him. So why not just make the move on that? For Bryant, it's the same thing. Bryant was already kind of sour about how they handled him on his rookie deal, keeping him down in the big leagues to make sure or keeping him down in AAA to make sure that they had that extra year. There was a lot of talk for a long time that the future was never going to stay in Chicago.
Yeah.
Use them, play him, get what you need. They got a World Series out of him. Awesome, great. But they did the right thing. They did the right thing because, again, there was so much behind-the-scenes stuff that just took place that just soured the relationship. And it was so – and again, you can tell me because you've been watching it more than I have and closer than I have. It was very known. It was very vocal that situation. I remember that situation was talked about for years.
It was
in Chicago. And it was just like at some point you had to think about, well, is anybody going to move on from it? So if you want him long term, you're going to have to move. But nobody did. Nobody did on both sides, and the media didn't move on from it. So the conversation continued. So there was never a long-term future for Chris Bryant. There was never a long-term future for Javi Baez. You got the value of both of them, what you needed, and you were able to go from there. And again, Tucker Barnhart's done a great job in Chicago. So yeah, I think they made the right decision at the time of how they valued those guys. And again, does it suck to have to rebuild in that aspect of? Of course it does. Nobody likes to rebuild because everybody knows what rebuild means. You're going to lose. And that's the follow-up of it. But if you can make the right moves following it, you can get yourself successful. Again, not to put my Braves on the pedestal. My Braves sold out for a while. They sucked for 3-4 years. And again, I know I'm not getting sympathy from y'all because 3-4 years of my Braves losing after 15 straight division titles, 5-6 division titles. I know y'all won't.
Yeah, we don't need the accolades, Jonathan. We don't need stop rubbing it in our damn face,
But shut up, Jonathan. Yeah.
But that's the story of rebuild. The rebuilding, you're going to lose if you make the right moves. If you make the right moves during your rebuild, the rebuild doesn't last long, and you get the benefit of what you're doing. And that's what the Cubs got to do right now. They had to do it. They're in the process of going in the right direction. I think they are. Are they at the cusp of being the division leader of for the next 5 years in Chicago in the Central? No. But let's see what the next offseason looks like. If they can make beneficial moves, then I think they're going to put themselves in the right position with this division open for at least for the next 5 years. It's going to be wide open.
Jonathan, Tampa Bay lost again tonight to Texas. Talk about their struggles right now, because they're struggling a lot right now. They're allowing Baltimore and these teams to kind of hang around.
Yeah, they should move. They should move to like a different state.
The Montreal would be great for Tampa.
No, little.
Nashville.
Bring it home.
I've said Nashville. I've said Nashville. Nashville or Charlotte would be too good.
Nashville Rays. That sounds. Yeah, you guys got Rays there.
No. There's already a thing. There's listen, dickwad, Nick. Listen to me. There's social media accounts. There's been stuff go.
We lost.
He drove him away.
You're supposed to get me out of the way, not you, Jonathan. Anyway, but no, there is social media groups called the Nashville Stars that have like Tim McGraw and people like that have been putting money towards trying to get a baseball team here. There's been guys trying to get a baseball team for years, and they have a big piece of land already picked out and stuff like that. But nobody's come a biting. But the mill is getting louder and louder as it continues to go. I do think probably probably the next decade, like in this decade, we're going to see a team in Nashville.
Before Jonathan goes,
and then you won't be a Guardians fan anymore. You already said that.
Yeah.
What did I? I don't remember saying that.
I've asked you before. I said if a team comes to Nashville, you said that's your new baseball team.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if I said it, I said it. And then as soon as I leave, the Guardians win the World Series. That would be my luck. As soon as I leave, the Guardians figure it all out, and I'm like,
the curse of Mr. First Down. That's what the Guardians.
Speaking of my lowly Guardians, they're beating the Pittsburgh Pirates 10-0 right now. But the just retribution. The Shane Bieber swollen elbow, Jonathan. If you're going to trade him, right, this is going to hurt his stock, right? Or if you're the Guardians, you just hold on to him to have something coming up.
If you were the Guardians, this is the worst thing that you could happen to this. And
yes,
they're competing for a division title, but at the same time, and we see teams that we saw with the Brewers. They were competing for division title, and they traded Josh Hader, knowing that you're not going to have him long term. This was trading Bieber would be the best thing that you could do, but this is the worst thing. The timing of this is worse because now every team that was interested, and I said Cincinnati Reds would be the perfect team to acquire Shane Bieber, but now you're on pause because you don't know what this elbow injury is going to be. After reports and what the long-term effects of it are going to be for this season. Because if you're trading for Bieber, you're getting a Cy Young caliber pitcher for a playoff run. But if this elbow injury, which it could be nothing, but you're in the back of your head, you're thinking, this is a start. This could be a start of something that could happen later on. And if we're going to make this move for Bieber, we need to know because you have other starting pitchers right now. So Guardians, like I said, this is the worst news for the Guardians too because this is going to cost them to have opportunity to get pieces for your future. Whereas the Reds can look at it and say, okay, yeah, we were interested in Shane Bieber, but this elbow injury is a concern. Let's go call Chicago White Sox and see what Giolito or Cease's availability is, and maybe we can make a deal for them, and we'll move on from Bieber at that point. So very, very concerning in every facet, one for Bieber and his health and how the long term of this season is going to be with that elbow, maybe even longer for next year if it's, depending on how everything tests out, but also for the availability of trade if you're the Guardians, because now the value does go down. And your haul that you could have gotten is not going to be the same because every team is going to say, if you trade for him, we're not giving you top prospects now because he could be on the shelf. If he makes one more start, let's say if he's shut down for a little bit, he comes back and that elbow does give out. We get nothing now. We have absolutely nothing. So it's a terrible timing for everybody, for Bieber, for his availability and his health, but also for the Guardians and what they were trying to potentially do if you wanted to move on from him, get a little bit more prospects and help yourself in the future. Because again, I think you're building. You got a pitching staff that you can win with. I think in this division, the AFC, the AFC Central, AFC. My goodness gracious, American League Central.
I see where you're looking.
It's been a long weekend. Like I said, traveling so much. But the division, the American League Central, is so bad that you could trade Bieber and still get a chance to be the division winner if you want to go down that road, which again, obviously they want to. Every team does, but you have the pitching staff that can still do it if you make that move, and you still benefit your future from there. So this timing wise is very concerning for everybody right now.
We lost you on your earlier when Scott's comment, and I just want to the Rays. What the hell's going on there? And are the O's going to overtake this thing and win that division?
It definitely makes things very interesting, because I mean we've been talking for months. I mean the Rays have been the best team in the American League, and now there's some struggles. There are some concerns. The pitching, we kind of saw, and I know I put the Braves a lot, but the Braves kind of exposed them a little bit. And they took 2 of 3 from Tampa Bay, and they got Bryce Elder. They hit him pretty hard in that last game before the first half. But again, Braves kind of exposed them a little bit, and were able to say, we can outpitch you. Oh, by the way, we can out-hit you. Well, guess what? The Orioles can hit. And they have a pretty good pitching staff. Are they on paper at the level of Tampa Bay Rays? No, they're not. But if you can match pitch for pitch, you don't have to beat them. You can just match them, and your offense is good too, like Orioles. You can compete with the Rays and be able to pass them. I think they're in a position they're about to. We might be talking about a new leader in the American League East here very soon. And if I'm Tampa, I'm very concerned because again, you have the farm to make some moves, but do you have the money? Do you have the money to make some moves? And obviously we know Tampa Bay does not. They don't have the money to make to acquire somebody that can interject life in this team in the rotation or in the order. And I think they need to do some more in the batting order. Pitching wise, they've been pitching well. You have Zach Eflin, who's been pitching very well. You have McClanahan, who's a Cy Young candidate. You have arms that are there. Maybe getting one more, but again, if you have the money to make 2 moves, 3 moves to help yourself push back into where you were supposed to be the best team in the American League, I don't know, because I think Baltimore will make a move. I'm expecting Baltimore to make a move at the deadline and get themselves, because they know they're on the cusp of being the best team in the American League now. So if I'm Tampa, I'm very concerned that things are kind of crumbling. Who's the leader of the team besides Kevin Cash? Kevin Cash is a very, very good manager. Who on the team is going to be the one that says enough? Who's the veteran presence this team needs? It's a very young team, but who's the veteran leader of this team that's going to say, guys, enough of this. We're too good to let this crumble on us. Who's going to be the one that puts it to a stop and says, we got to get ourselves back to where we were and start dominating teams and being the best team in the American League again? I don't know if they have that. And if you trade for somebody that's way, they're coming into a brand new clubhouse. You can't rely on that. So I'm concerned, and I think that I think there's going to be a new American League East leader, and I don't see. I might have to say that Orioles going to probably take this division.
So Tanner,
Royals are losing, Tanner.
Get out of here.
Hey, Tanner, we already talked about the Cardinals, so maybe you, if you would do your dang job and stop
on the show,
damn show, you would know what we already talked about. Instead, I don't even know what you're doing anymore. I'm over here. I don't get paid enough to host and produce. Tanner, you don't pay me enough to do both. And you're over here putting in comments about stuff we already talked about. Why don't you tune in, huh? Why don't you tune in to know what we talked about when the Cardinals are making moves? We're not asking that question because we covered that 20 minutes ago, Tanner. Jesus.
Could we
very unprofessional
at the end of August that Houston could be the best team in the American League if Tampa continues to struggle?
I'm sorry, that's Jonathan. He's the expert. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. As strange as that sounds.
No, because I still I think Baltimore would be considered the best. Okay. I think Baltimore would be the best teams in the American League if they pass Tampa, just because of what they've been able to, how consistent. Again, that team has been very consistent, and that's the name of the game. At the end of the day, talent is good, but consistency is better. And Astros have not been consistent. They're catching fire, which we've expected them to do so at some point. We just didn't know when, but we expect them to do so. But the most consistent team in the American League outside of Tampa until now which I have to now give is the Baltimore Orioles. They've been very consistent, and they've just been on the heels of the Rays all season, waiting for the moment for them to take that jump, and they're on it right now. So
what makes the O's so good? Because like I'm just like I know Adley Rushman's a stud, but like I'm looking at like their like lineup, like it's just like guys like Sandler like leads got 17 home runs. Like that's not a whole lot. Like Hayes has got batting at 309 as leads their team. Like Rushman's got a high OPS and hits the ball well. Like why are the O's so damn good right now?
Again, it's consistency. They're just consistent. I mean, again, they play good ball. And again, if you put them on paper, sure. Talent-wise, if you look at to Tampa or Houston, talent-wise, yeah, sure, they're not on that level because they're not there yet. Again, Cedric Mullins is a really good ball player. Adley Rushman is a really good ball player. If you put them on paper, yeah, sure, they're not the most talented. But again, talent in the big leagues, again, everybody throw a name out there. They're all good. What is the difference maker that in this ballgame? Well, it's consistency. And they just do things so consistent, and they pitch well. Do they have a great pitching staff? No, they don't have a great pitching staff. Do they have a good pitching staff that keeps them in ball games and helps them win games? Yes. Do they have a great offense? No, they don't have a great offense. But are their offense where they spray the ball around the field, they get hits, they get some home runs, they drive in runs, and they do things, the little things to help you win? Yes, they do.
In a 4-game series, in a best of 7, when we get to the playoffs, can the O's make a deep run, or will they lose to the likes of somebody like the Astros because the Astros are a deeper team and more talented team?
If the Astros pitching gets back to, and it's been getting better, if the Astros pitch like they have in the postseason in the years past, that's going to be very tough for the Orioles. That'll be very tough. I would like to say yes, the Orioles could make that run. Do they have enough? I'd like to know what they do in the deadline though. If they make a move to a pitcher, so let's just say Dylan Cease is a pitcher they target. I've heard the Orioles have been in on at least one of the White Sox pitchers. If they acquire a Dylan Cease, then I think they can. I think because that's an arm that will give you innings that can go. You can give them the ball game 1 in a postseason series, and you have confidence that you're going to get a win, and that's what you need right now. I don't know on the roster right now. You have the confidence of a guy who's going to get you the ball game 1 of the ALCS and go against Framber Valdez and say our pitcher's going to match your pitcher. I don't know right now that by the deadline. If they make a move, I think they can. If they make a move and they bring in, like I said, Dylan Cease or Lucas Giolito, then I'm going to give them the nod, yes, because they just do things right. They do things consistent. They play well at that moment. So I would have to say yes if they make a move. But on paper right now, no. I don't think they can beat the Astros in a 7 game. I think they'll go 6. I think they could push it to 7. But I think the Astros, as of right now, would be able to win that series.
Alan, hey, you didn't have to cut your finger off for a Cowboys Super Bowl. They're still not going to win, even though you cut your finger off for the Cowboys Super Bowl.
He's trying to give it to Dak. Tanner, just come on. Get on the show.
Tanner said he said those catch fire. They could be going first into September. They could be, yeah. I mean, they could be first by August. I mean, they're only 2 back right now, so I mean, they could be first.
I thought I saw they were 1 back before tonight. Now I don't know what has happened tonight, but
they
I
lost to the Dodgers.
They lost. Okay, so about 2 back, but I mean, they could by August 1st they could be a first place team. I mean, I think that's very possible right now. Very possible.
Do you think the Orioles open their wallets and go and get Dylan Cease or Giolito and then sign him to a long-term contract? They need that number 1 starter more than any other team, I think, in baseball right now, because the number 1 starter is Kyle Gibson, and that's a no-go for me.
Maybe they go get Stroman.
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I think that's a move you will need if you're the Orioles Talk about all the teams that make a move and just get as you said, get a number one guy. That is the team that needs one. And it's just amazing. Again, that's why I say it's amazing what they've been doing without a true number one starter. It's really remarkable what they've done. So you throw in a Dylan Cease or a Lucas Giolito or a Marcus Stroman type of pitcher on that, then I mean, my goodness, you're gonna. Well, now again, the question was really asked was, are they going to pay them? That I don't know, because you have a young core already, and and again, we see what teams have kind of followed the Braves doing by you, and you have your young core. You're going to start signing them early. I think that's probably what they're going to do first. A lot of teams have been doing that more, and you're going to probably say Adley Rutschman's the first one that you're going to look at on this roster to say I got to pay just because of what he's done for this franchise over the last year. So I think they should. Will they? I think it's a better question. But should they trade and sign somebody to an extension? Absolutely. They should do it. I just don't know if they will, because again, the direction of front offices is paying your young guys first now. A trend that the Braves have started. We saw Tampa Bay do the same thing with Wander Franco. We've seen a lot of young guys in year one, year two of their in their time in the big leagues. They're getting immediate contract extensions. I think the Orioles are going to do the same thing here pretty soon with Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, and I think Dylan Cease is still young enough. He's in his 26, 27, something like that.
I think 27.
So he's still young enough where he's going to pitch for another 8 to 10 years effectively, I think. And that fits right into what the Orioles are right now, which is a young team that's on the come up in the American League. And they could be there for years. So,
yeah, and I think that would be a good one. Again, you kind of get somebody who, as you said, he fits the bill of the direction. You have a young group. If you're the Orioles, could you look at it and say, hey, maybe we need somebody a little bit more seasoned that we can get someone like maybe like a Giolito who's a little bit older. Maybe a Stroman who's a little bit older, and kind of be a veteran presence of this team in the pitching staff. Absolutely, I think that might be. You can go in either direction. Get the younger guy in Cease, or you can get the older veteran that might be more of a leader to this team. Either direction is the right direction for Baltimore. Will they do it and sign them? That said, they should. I just don't know if they will, just because of where they're at with the team right now.
Jonathan, we'll get you out of here on this. We started this conversation talking about the Cardinals. They said they were going to sell. Are the Mets going to sell too?
Again, the same thing I said a second ago. As far as about the Orioles, should the Mets sell? Yes, the Mets should sell. Will they? No, because Steve Cohen doesn't understand the business side of the game of baseball. And when it comes to like your team is not good, find a way to get better. You've committed so much money in certain areas that you're going to keep, which we already know. He's already said he'll spend this offseason. He'll spend more money this offseason. He'll do it again. He'll continue overloading the payroll, pay the taxes. He doesn't care. He's already said he doesn't care.
The new George Steinbrenner. He's the new George, right? We're going to go out and try to buy.
I mean, yes, but Steinbrenner, they won. They won though.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you saw Steinbrenner? And it's been so long ago, and I know I was young, but let me ask y'all, when was the last time you saw Steinbrenner spend money for a fourth place team?
Yeah.
Well, not George. I mean, George, he's deceased, so you know what I mean. It's different.
Well, Nick, we talked about this on the baseball show.
About George. I'm going about George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner spent money. He goes, I don't care. I'm spending money to win.
Yeah.
Spent money to win, and
They never in fourth place. Yes, if that's
correct.
True.
But when was the last time? That's why I asked. When was the last time George Steinbrenner spent money for a fourth place team? Never happened. Not the least that I know have.
Yeah.
Like it never happened. Steve Cohen spent money to be in fourth place, and you're closer to the Nationals than you are the Atlanta Braves in your division. So you're essentially could be a last place team if things really tank. But he's not going to sell. He doesn't want to. He doesn't understand that. He thinks I'm going to spend more money because that's what wins. But we see from the Mets, from the Padres, from the Dodgers. And I know Dodgers didn't really spend money this offseason.
Dodgers are in first place, so you got to cancel them out.
Who?
The Dodgers are in first place.
Now they are, yes. If we talked about, I guess if this conversation was a month and a half ago, different conversation. Right. But again, okay, then Cardinals spent money, and they're in last place. Padres are fourth place in their division. I mean, money. Yankees spend money, and they're in fourth place in their division. So spending money stupidly doesn't work, and that's what Cohen is trying to do. I mean, goodness gracious, could we see Carlos Correa doing what he's doing? He's not doing anything in Minnesota. What if that contract was in New York too? And it was just what he's doing in Minnesota is the same thing doing in New York, and they're still in fourth place. My goodness gracious, could you imagine the stories being said about this team? It would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely ridiculous. And you can't trade those contracts. You can't. Nobody wants them. So they're stuck. The only player that they can actually like trade and get something for because the contract is not bad is Alonso, and they don't want to trade Alonso. Like nobody's going to pay 40. Nobody's going to trade for a 40-year-old making $40 million in Max Scherzer. Nobody's going to trade for a 40-year-old making $40 million in Justin Verlander. It's not going to work. Nobody's going to do it.
They have to eat the money. They'd have to eat a lot of money.
I'm asking the team. I'll pay if I'm a team. Say, look, I'll take Scherzer. I'll give you 2 prospects. It's going to be mid-level prospects, though. I'm not giving you any of my top prospects. I'm going to give you 2 mid-level prospects. But hey, guess what? You're going to pay $35 million of that contract. I'll cover 5, but you're going to pay 35, and you're getting 2 mid-level prospects on it. Mets will hang up on me, but that's all I'm going to do. Like I won't. I mean, what incentive do I have to get Scherzer and Verlander, who are 40 years old and they're not pitching to the standard that we've seen them do in the last, throughout their careers? They're not pitching great. So I'll pay $5 million. Mets, you take 35. I'll give you 2 prospects that are in the 20s of my farm system, and we'll shake hands and say, call it a deal.
But here's the thing. If I'm the Mets GM, I'm very wary because if I go to my owner and say we got this deal in place with Max Scherzer, the owner might say, nope, don't
Correct.
do it. I don't want to do it.
Correct.
And he'll nix the deal. So
why would I even put myself in that position as an opposing general manager to overpay for a guy who, like I said, has been average? Both of them have been average. I'm not overpaying, and I'm not going to eat a lot of that. I'm not going to have to take on that contract. You're going to eat that contract. You're going to eat as much. And I tell them, I'm being very generous, paying $5 million. I'm being very generous to you, but I'm not going to overpay to acquire 2 40-year-olds who are spiraling on the downward side of their career.
Hey, what do you, Jonathan? Who you guys kicking ass on this weekend before you get out of here?
We're very busy this weekend. I've got 4 of my teams in action this weekend. This is one of our last weekends of the summer. So if we're finishing out our season, and I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait because what I do normally at the end of our season is I go back and I track what records we've set as an organization. I highlight some of the things we've done from our individual for the athletes, what we've done as teams. I mean, we've set so many records of most championships won in a season, most championship game appearances in a season, most home runs hit in the season. We've finished right now. I think we're at 58 home runs hit this season, which shattered our record in one season. I mean, it's been amazing to watch the growth. And so am I excited that we get to play and get to coach this weekend? Yes. Am I excited that the season's going to finish? Yes, because I get to do my favorite part of highlighting such amazing things that these girls and boys have done. We've had, again, I actually made a point. The boys played this. Both my 4 boys baseball teams that played this weekend finished. I think the boys actually had their best showing. Finished 7th in their World Series out of 20 teams. Our 16U team played in front of college coaches again this weekend. So, I mean, it's amazing. I cannot wait to highlight just what accomplishments that we have achieved, records we've broken, and all that means is we have new goals for the future to shatter and break more records coming up here for the future in the fall and in the next spring and summer. And we're growing, and that's the best part, as I say, is we're growing, and we got so many more talent. We had tonight we had 7 girls come and try out. They're wanting to come and try out for us, so we're getting more coming that are talented to add to our teams and be able to just go in the direction to blow up and excel in so many levels and so many different ways that I am just absolutely excited for where we're headed and what we're doing. I can't wait for the weekend, but I also can't wait to just absolutely, as I said, highlight all of our accomplishments, highlight the girls' accomplishments, and say this is the bar that we have set. We're going to break that bar the next year as we go.
Hey, well, we appreciate you, Jonathan. Give it up for a guy who can pitch right-handed and left-handed, the legend of a man, Jonathan Grishman, baby.
Always, guys.
That's
I
the
appreciate
boy.
it.
That's the boy right there.
See you, Jonathan. We'll catch you next
Sitting
Monday.
in darkness in his car. That's the boy right there.
Definitely, guys. Definitely. Hey, always appreciate it.
I'll see y'all later. Click.
We got to get some comments out of here. So Alan says he cut his finger off for the Rangers World Series. They ain't winning that either. So Bobby G said Cavs won the summer league. Yeah, hey Bobby, that's the only championship that's coming to Cleveland anytime soon. So Bobby G is going to be on the show Thursday, folks. I hope. I don't know if Tanner's booked him or not. So if you're watching still, Bobby G, we're officially booking you Thursday. We're going to cover start our divisional predictions for it'll be the NFC North with Bobby G, and I won't be here, but I told Tanner I'd text him my picks for division. Scott's going to highlight some players for fantasy wise, but we're going to break down each team and pick the divisions where they're going to rank. So tune into that. Tanner's been busy doing some stuff. Johnny's still moving, or he's just depressed because the Yankees are in last place. So that's where he's been at. I don't really believe he's moving. He's just in a depression den because the Yankees absolutely stink right now. So
I got a text from Johnny today. He is in the darkness. He won't come out until the Yankees put together a 5-game winning streak. He said. So
well, we may not see. Hey, we won't see Johnny till 2024. So we'll see him then.
Bobby, Nick won't be here, so you can get a word in otherwise. So you know.
I don't know when. I don't know when Green Bay is going to get one again, but we got one a lot more sooner and than later than the Browns have. So there's that.
Woo! He ain't gonna come on Thursday now.
And let's just say to Tanner, do not be in the comments anymore. We want you on the show.
Yeah, you can't run the show through the comments, Tanner. Okay, there's no 8 monitors to save you in the chat. Okay, you can't run this show. Hey, do you guys want to talk about the Washington news at all?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Okay. The NFL has reached agreement to resolve all remaining legal issues with Dan Snyder, per Mark Mask, clearing the way for the $6.5 billion sale of the Commanders to be finalized. The deal is expected to close officially as soon as Friday. So,
goodbye, Daniel. Thanks for your.
Thanks for being one of the worst owners of all time. You're a scumbag.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish nothing but the worst for you.
No doubt. And now he'll probably be sued by many people.
We can only hope. They'll have to watch. Tanner said watch.
Allegedly, I think he knows where the dead bodies are. So Raj has been protecting him because he
knows about my basement. Oh, I mean, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was nice of you to let Jim Biringer out of the basement, Sam.
Well, I like I said, he tricked my twin daughters, gave him candy. They gave him a shovel. He got out of there. It's okay. I had him tagged. I know where he is.
So let's get to our parting shots. Scott, who we betting on tomorrow before we let the world know who we winning on tomorrow?
3 bets I'm going to put in right in the morning. Phillies money line, Padres money line, and the Braves money line. So those 3. And
Padres, Braves, and who else was the first one? Who was the first one?
Phillies. Yeah. Then those 3. And then I'll look at some props in the morning based on Vegas doesn't come out with props until early in the morning. So that's when I usually do my strikeout and outs record and stuff like that prop. So good show again tonight. Monday nights, Jim and Jonathan are on. Always great to talk to them. Great to see them. A lot of information that they give out. So, Thursday night NFL preview start. It's an exciting time. It's time to ramp it up for NFL, and the Let's Talk Sports show will be ramping it up big time for the NFL. So stay tuned and listen to the information that we give out. It'll be really good. So.
Sam, what's your final thoughts there, sweetheart Sam?
Mm-hmm. Well, Nick, I just came on to tell you how much I love you, buddy. It's always great being on a show like this. This is something I've always kind of wanted to do. So it's very awesome. And you got to treasure things like this. Enjoy the ride. until it's over. Okay, and eventually it gets over, but hopefully that is far, far away into the future. Enjoy the ride. With anything you do, enjoy the ride.
That's what she said.
Oh,
He said.
oh, you're going to the basement. Basement time for you.
No, it's always a pleasure. Short man crew with the three of us holding it down. But anytime you get to talk to somebody who is as knowledgeable as Jim Biringer, it's a great time. Jim's that guy is just so much knowledgeable in so many aspects of life that I would never even think about, getting into. So kudos to him. Flo's taking shots at Tanner over here. So, it'll be interesting there. So,
well, I mean, a wolf doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep, though.
Ooh, as always, it's been a pleasure, boys. As always, we'll be back Thursday night. The boys will be holding down the fort for me. I'll be at a baseball game watching the Springfield Cardinals. So a little double-A action there for my job. So I won't be in. I might try to. It depends on what time the game starts at 7. So I might be able to catch in the back end of the back half of the show there. Just to say what's up. So. We'll see. We'll see you then Thursday night, 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern. We'll catch you then. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. Johnny, we miss you, brother. Hopefully the Yankees go on this 5-game winning streak when we get you back. So, Tanner's too busy doing other stuff. I need a pay raise around here. I got to hit the old outro. I got to do it all.
Maybe it was Memphis.
All right, I don't even know where the outro button is. There it is. Here we go. We'll see y'all.
Life better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts. Could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way. What I'm doing ain't easy.